So we are on to episode 14 of season 2. I'll try my best here. Die Hand Die Verletzt. I believe. Yeah. So I got a wee bit stuck there because I was so kind of proud that I got it right. It kind of threw me off balance. I was expecting to mess that up.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there's some Germans out there that are still pretty uninspired by it. But
Shh. Fine. So, right, tell me a little bit about this one, Brian. Is this a big X-Files episode?
in the grand scheme of things, maybe not. But in the scheme of season 2, I'd say it's probably a pretty solid episode. I think it's probably better than a lot of the ones we've had so far this year. Although going off last episode, I've got absolutely no idea what's going to come out of your mouth these days. So,
like to keep you on the edge, Brian.
Okay,
so do you want to kick off with the opening scene of this episode?
Yeah, we'll do. Okay, so we start off with what is basically a teacher-parent committee, or parent-teacher committee, PTC, yeah. So basically those annoying people that you always get in every school who just want to make sure everything goes right, and they make sure they put on plays that are tasteful and things like that. So yeah, it just looks like typical PTC. Although for some reason, for these guys, Jesus Christ Superstar seems to be a wrong choice for a play. Not the way to go in this school. No religion here. But it turns out there is religion. It's just of a completely different nature. So these guys wrap the meeting up and then decide to light some candles and pray to the Lord of Darkness. They close the door and start chanting away, and some glowing lights start coming through the door like something really nasty is about to happen, I guess. I can't remember if we get the credits then or whether it goes into the next scene, but either way, next scene. Well, first of all, what do you think about that opening?
I absolutely loved it. I loved the opening here because you think you're into one episode, it's just all the typical characters, the sort of stuck-up parents and teachers who want to burn the books that mention something untasteful to their liking, and then they whip out the candles and it's all Hail Satan.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I was sitting there and I'm like, yep, I'm in. Just what else has this got? I love the fact that it's just doing this, and I was just like, yeah. I mean, it pulls back from that door, and you've just got the black screen with the glowing light round about it. I thought it was quite a nice touch, quite a good look about it. Would be yourself, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of suddenly turns into the Wicker Man, doesn't it? It's humorous though as well, because it is taking that I don't know if you'd call it a trope, but just that idea of everyone knows about the PTC or whatever you call it. It's like in this episode they call it the PTC, but over here I think we have another name for it. Either way you want to cut it, it's the same thing. It's those annoying adults who get a little bit pissy with just even if there's something that's going to have like a moderate swear word in or something like that, they're going to cut it off, or what I mean. It's just so it kind of spins that on its head. We've got these people, we know who they are, and then it does this turn, and suddenly actually we don't know who they are. They're the complete opposite of what we thought they were. They're devil worshippers. So yeah, not the kind of people you want running a school, basically. Well, not the kind of people I want running a school anyway. No school I'd send my child to. But yeah, so we move on from there, and we've got a bunch of kids. Well, I say kids, teenagers, 20-somethings playing teenagers, out in the woods. And they're there to perform a séance. Now, one of those you may not have noticed because her part is so small. in the
Laura
episode.
Harris.
Yes.
Yes.
Laura Harris. Oh, I love Laura Harris, the faculty.
Yep.
She was in season 2 of 24 as well.
24,
She was
yeah.
a villain in that. But yeah, she's done a few things that I really liked her in, and she seems to have kind of disappeared off the map these days, which is a shame because she's a very good actress. But yeah, so any fans of Laura Harris, you'll notice her pop up in this. Like I say though, not a huge.
No,
role.
you don't see a lot of her here, but I mean, you get to see a lot of her in the faculty.
You had to go there, didn't you? You had to, yeah. You just had to go there. I happen to think that she does have good qualities as an actress, besides those obvious ones. But anyway, swiftly moving on. So I don't know if you noticed while we're seeing these kids in the woods, we get some crazy credits coming up. So James Wong and Glenn Morgan, who are producers on the X-Files, they're also directors. They direct some of the episodes. They're listed here in the producer credits as James Chargers Wong and Glenn Bolts Baby Morgan. So clearly some football teams or some baseball teams or something were having a game against each other, and they probably felt a bit competitive and put that in the credits. Nothing to do with the episode, but I just thought it was quite funny seeing those credits pop up.
I did not notice.
There you go. So these kids get together, and basically the two lads are just trying to score with these two girls. They want to scare them, and hopefully when they get scared, they'll cozy up to them. But these incantations that they've torn out of a library book that they kind of start speaking, it turns out that they actually do something. They awaken something that is quite nasty. So Andrea, I think her name is, she does a runner, and the lad that goes after her, he gets caught by something or someone who grabs him by the neck and kills him. So what was your thoughts here then?
It's terrifically tropey. It's like almost every horror movie you've ever seen, but I think it's playing towards that. The guys are overly douchey, you know, to really,
in a Jennifer's Body kind of way, I think.
yeah, it's like definitely a self-aware and heightened kind of douchiness. But it sets up the story. It's like one of the key scenes, because this is the instigator of everything. This is what, in my opinion, this is what brings the reckoning for the PTC. I mean, it is. It's an instigator, but yeah. All right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a nicely dark scene, but again, kind of comic as well. Yeah. Okay. Mulder and Scully then arrive at the scene the following morning, and Sheriff Oakes, our typical sheriff of the week, he feels like it's witchcraft because the heart of the victim has been ripped out along with the eyes, and he thinks witchcraft. He also has a bit of an air about him that he kind of really doesn't. He's not prepared for a case like this. He's not used to a case like this. He's typical small town sheriff that we've come to expect from the X-Files. You almost feel as if you should be playing like X-Files bingo or something, you know, like you get the sheriff that believes in the supernatural, or do you get the sheriff that naysays it and you get a mark on whatever one you get, type of thing? I'm
sure there's a board game in there somewhere with
there's got to be
little mug shots of all the sheriffs that we've had throughout the X-Files run. Okay. Scully finds 2 6-packs and a page torn out from a library book. She thinks it's a serial killer, and Mulder thinks that the sheriff might be right. Though it's nice to see some detective work there from Scully. I mean, quite frankly, the fact that the sheriff didn't pick up on it is a bit of a misnomer and points to just how bad he is. But
Yeah.
you know, at least Scully's on the ball. But yeah, so they got, you know, we're back to typical kind of Scully and Mulder dynamics. Scully's got a rational explanation. Mulder is all over this witchcraft thing, and then toads fall from the sky.
Yeah.
So to which Mulder kind of just glibly says, "I guess the parachutes didn't open."
Yeah.
So yeah, again, it's just at every turn with this so far. You know, in these three scenes, we're hit with something awful, something terrifying, but it's kind of undercut with a sense of comedy, a light sense of comedy. It's not like nudge, nudge, wink, wink, in your face kind of stuff. But it does have this kind of undercurrent of humour to bring it back down to earth.
Yeah, I mean, this scene finishes with a punchline, but with Scully saying there's nothing supernatural kind of here, and then boom, the toes fall from the heavens. Which, you know, you can see it as a very comedic punchline.
Yeah.
A visual punchline, but yeah, again, it's a perfunctory scene, gets them into the sort of meeting the sheriff and seeing what the goings on are for this episode. But yeah, it's perfectly good.
Okay, so we go to the school. We're in the library, and Mulder finds the book from the library card of it was. So they found out what the book was, and it belongs to Dave Durant. Not for any YouTubers out there, not of Durant cinema fame, but some numbskull who basically left his book behind. So Mulder finds out while Scully blames a nearby tornado for carrying the toads. This is rational Scully coming over and just saying, like, literally just comes out with it. "Oh, Mulder, I found out the explanation for the toads. Seems there was a tornado a few miles away. That could have been what picked them up and shut them down." It's like, okay, Scully, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're kind of hoping for that scene where Scully explains the frogs raining from heavens type of thing, and it's just this is one of my favourite things about TV shows, the way it just like almost cuts from like one conversation, ignores the period of time in between, and then just continues it straight off again as if there's been nothing that missed in between. I mean, it's for the viewers, but I just think it's a funny notion that they do.
So this is where Mulder sees the water going down the wrong way on the tap, is it? Yeah. So is that? Oh no, sorry, it's not. It's a bit further on. We'll get there when we get there. So basically, they go to see David. They go to see Durant Cinema, and who does a runner. He sees the FBI agents coming in, and he does a runner. And Mulder grabs him, pulls him back through the window. And
let's just have a moment there. Let's just have a moment for Mulder springing into action. Because let's face it, we all thought it was going to be Scully.
Yeah. Mulder actually, in this episode, he dishes out his fair share of whoop-ass, it must be said. I mean, he gets his ass handed to him, but he does dish out his fair share of whoop-ass. So they question Durant, and he's scared. He's scared that they woke up some kind of devil, which is why he run. And Mulder and Scully basically let him go. They realise he's just some punk kid who's probably he's too scared to be involved, basically. But as they're questioning him and letting him go, the 4 teachers that were at the PTC, they're just outside the window, talking and asking each other who's responsible. So they're kind of looking at each other for who's to blame here, who's behind this kind of thing. And they make out to Mulder and Scully that the kids are the ones who are guilty of the occult. Yeah. So that they're literally blaming these kids for the very thing that they are guilty of.
I love this scene. I love the acting of the teachers. I think it's so mischievous how, like, because we're in on it, you can almost see the looks between them, just like, oh, this is great, isn't it? Let's blame somebody else. The kids are into the occult. It's disgusting. There's so much fun and glee in the performances here that really do just sell it. Like I said, I think the actors playing the characters look as if they're having fun doing this kind of dual conversation that only the viewers are into. But, I don't know what you think of it, but I think it's terrific.
Yeah, I think it's mildly amusing. Yeah. Do you recognise the main guy?
No, I don't think I did.
I don't know if you ever watched Frasier.
Sporadically.
Right. Okay. He was a character in Frasier who was just like proper, like off the wall kind of character. Really, hyperactive guy, but yeah, very different character to what he's playing here. It must be said.
Right. Okay.
But so Scully basically puts it down to mass hysteria. She thinks the teachers, the sheriff, it's just hysteria. And I think in one regard you could see that maybe that's why the teachers did it. You know, if they can throw them off the scent by just acting like the hysterical teachers, then yeah, job done. But this is when Mulder notices that the water in the water fountain that he's drinking from is going down the drain in the wrong direction. I don't really know what the science behind this is, but apparently, yeah, depending on what hemisphere you're in, water goes down the drain in a particular direction. So, yeah, there you go. Weird stuff happens.
So, fairly simple scene. Next up.
Yep. So we go from there, and Mrs. Paddock offers a sympathetic ear. So we get introduced to this teacher, Mrs. Paddock. She's offering a sympathetic ear to the girls that were with those two lads, before putting exam papers into her drawer on top of a heart and a pair of eyes. On top of the blood as well. Just like, just pages, exam papers, straight onto this bloody heart.
It's awesome. It's ludicrous. It's playing with us, definitely, because you get this straight-laced librarian-like teacher who is introduced as if she's part of the woodwork, as if she's always been there, and we don't find out till later on that she's a new teacher, but at this moment you're just like, oh, one of these. And then when she opens the drawer, I don't think anybody was quite expecting the eyeballs and heart. And she's ruined those test papers. Like, they're stained with blood. That's a shame.
Yeah, they're not getting them back.
They're not getting them back, no.
Okay. So we go from there to Mulder going to the school psychologist. He asks the school psychologist if any of the students showed signs of repressed memories. When he asks to speak to any of them, the psychologist guy, says it would be a betrayal of their confidentiality. Obviously, this is one of the guys from the PTC, so he's absolutely hiding something.
Yes.
But, it comes a little out of the blue, I've got to say. Mulder's kind of, the whole thing, just asking about repressed memory, I'm kind of like, right, Mulder? A shot in the dark there, you just kind of pulled that one out of your backside, but fair enough, whatever, you know something we don't, or you're looking for something we're not, but fair enough. Like I would expect, I think, maybe Scully to be more the one that would ask that kind of question, because it's more of a, it's bringing it back down to earth, isn't it? It's looking at things from a psychological aspect, whereas you'd think Mulder would be more the supernatural aspect, so... Yeah, it's a bit of a curveball, but it's nothing to, don't derail the episode or anything.
But it's quite good the way that the teachers can all handle these questions and give plausible explanations as to why they can't help or don't want to.
Yeah.
It's another one, and I think because of the sort of playful nature of this episode, you don't really dwell on these kind of questions. You're just kind of like, all right, next scene.
But that's where the scary side of this episode comes in. Really, it's just this idea that these people who, for any parents, you're supposed to entrust your child to these people. You send your child off to school, and you want to feel like you can trust the people who are looking after them. So when you got people like this who are, just hurting them psychologically, physically, whatever, at every turn, and are able to get away with it because they can band together. It does raise some concerns. But Mulder pops out of the office just as Scully finds a newspaper article from years ago that demonstrates how the fears of today are the same as back then. Only instead of Jews, it's now witches. So I'm not sure you can quite make the leap from Jews to witches, but I think that's a bit. I don't know. Comparing Jews to witches is a little bit. Mulder points out that even those who practice the Wiccan religion do not believe in murder, and Scully kind of says, well, if not, then why? But like I say, comparing witches to Jews, I'm not really sure you're in the same ballpark. But all right,
not even close.
Moving on.
Moving swiftly.
So basically, I only have 4 words written for the next scene.
Okay.
Which is dissecting a pig, Shannon. Yes, we basically get Mrs. Paddock handing out pigs, little baby pigs, and having the class dissect them. And the one that is put in front of Shannon, she was the other girl, the one who isn't Laura Harris. She goes to dissect this pig, and then it wakes up and squawks at her.
Love it. I love the effect. I think it's really creepy, and again, it looks kind of puppetry, but it looks kind of real at the same time. It has that kind of oddity about it, that kind of funny weirdness. The kind of thing that you would find in, say, House, or something like that. I love this scene as well.
This is the scene that kind of stuck in my mind. Like, I've not seen this episode for years, probably a good 10 years. But this is the scene I remember. So I think in my mind, I may have built it up more than what it was. It's still effective. I think it's still a very effective scene. But what surprised me was how little screen time they have that pig on there. Like, you literally you see it twitch, essentially. The head just twitches a little bit, and then they cut away, and it's just enough to make you go, oh, it's just, and I think that's quite effective.
And also in this scene, you get to see briefly the biggest snake I've ever seen in a classroom within a cage, because this thing looks huge.
Yeah, it's a python, so it's massive.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had a python in one of our science classes. Not quite that big, but we had one that was it was a considerable size. I remember back in the school days, but and I don't think it was a permanent fixture. I think it was something they brought in for a limited time while they did certain teaching on it, whatever. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I don't know why I went into that, but so the psychologist tells Shannon that her father is on his way, to which she completely freaks out and just does a runner. Mulder goes after her and says, "You're remembering. Tell us what you remember." So again, Mulder's very adamant about this whole idea of repressed memories. Again, I don't know if he said something, I just missed it, but I just don't know where he's jumped onto that from. There's
no breadcrumbs to lead him down that path.
No.
But But this scene where the girl tells the story, I think you're just getting to that, aren't you?
I am. Yeah. Really, really gripping.
Yes.
Just a bit and brilliantly performed, I must say, by the girl. Yeah. One of the this is one of the other things that I remember from it, and I can't remember if I mentioned it last episode actually, that there's a performance here in this episode that is just.
I'm not sure.
Right. Well, either way, it's a performance that I always remember. You know, when you think about guest spots, people who've just in for one episode, they're just playing a character you're never going to see again. This is undoubtedly one of the best performances, I think, from one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like
this,
from
this episode, you've had lots of levity, lots of sort of punchy jokes and things to break any tension that they may have built up, and you just keep waiting, and it gets worse and worse, and she gets more upset as she's talking about it, and you can see that she believes in it, and it breaks up with the ended scene where she's like, I've had 4 kids, they're all buried in the basement, and you're like, by this point you're like, holy crap, we've just took a detour from where the episode's been going, and you don't know what the hell's coming next. It is such an off-putting, shocking scene, and I think it's so well acted. It's one of the best scenes I think in any of the X-Files episodes I've seen so far. Just this performance.
It is, yeah. Just like I said, and it all hangs on her, because Mulder and Scully are doing nothing. They're just listening. You know, the camera's on her the whole time. The scene is just her, and it's, you know, for someone that I don't think I'd ever seen before, and I can't say I've seen since, which really surprises me. From this performance. I mean, and undoubtedly she's probably still done a lot of work as an actor, I would imagine, but she's, you know, if she can act like this, it really does surprise me that she's not. Well, I couldn't name her to you. Yeah. Like right now, I couldn't tell you her name as an actress, which is shocking, because, like I say, that performance is really incredible. But yeah, so they're just, Mulder and Scully are just listening to Shannon while she tells her about Jim, her stepdad, and how he raped her when she was young. He involved her in religious ceremonies that got her pregnant so that they could take the baby and kill it in a sacrifice. Like you said, they did this 4 times apparently, based on her memory at any rate. Jim also killed her younger sister, she claims. But she says that the parents claimed it was an accident. She says it was a murder, and her sister was like 8 years old or something like that. I couldn't praise that scene enough. Just a fantastic performance. So from there, Mulder and Scully go to see Mr. and Mrs. Osbury, not Aubrey, to be confused with the episode we just had recently, but Osbury. Jim says someone has put these things into her mind, and Mulder and Scully do a little bit of divide and conquer. So Mulder offers to take Mr. Osbury into the kitchen to have a word, while Scully tries to get something out of the wife.
You get 2 really nice approaches. You've got Scully being super nice and comforting to the woman and just like, tell me that, and then you've got Mulder who's just like, did you do it?
Yeah, just really direct, like no messing about. Mrs. Osbury tells Scully that she did have another daughter, but she died of crib death at 8 weeks, not 8 years. And she doesn't get along with Shannon, her other daughter, so she thinks like maybe that's got something to do with it. But it's a pretty big leap there. Like you say, Mulder goes into the kitchen with Jim and just outright accuses him, causing Jim to smash the glass of water that he's holding at the time and start quoting scripture. To which Mulder says, even the devil can quote scripture to fit his needs. To which Jim's response is to throw him out.
And call him the devil.
Yeah, call him the devil, which is it's just, and he does it with conviction. That's the thing, you know. This guy is, just an absolute horror.
It's the biggest subterfuge you can get. They just keep claiming that everybody else is what they are.
Yeah,
You know, and it stops them from being suspected as being that because they're calling people that. Yeah. Great. And then we get the door slamming as well, Brian. He opens the.
We do,
the
yeah.
door.
So when Mulder basically gives the line about even the devil can quote scripture, and Jim gets angry. In his anger, the door just suddenly slams by itself like a supernatural thing, which is a bizarre moment, to be honest, because it suggests that he has powers, that he's got some kind of.
Yeah.
Which, given the context of where the episode goes, is a bit bizarre, because the episode is essentially about how the devil is coming to claim these guys.
I think what you have here is, obviously it doesn't show you it, but Paddock's cast a spell on Shannon to make her believe that this is true. I don't think it happened. No?
No.
You think it happened?
It's what we get into it in a scene a little later on.
Right.
Jim basically goes over it, and so we'll get to it when we get to it.
All right, okay.
Yeah, but no, I don't think that's what happened. So right, so Jim throws Mulder out. Shannon goes to resit her dissection exam. And Mrs. Paddock takes her jewellery and decides to perform a little ritual of her own in the next room, causing Shannon to commit suicide.
Yeah.
So basically this poor girl has not had a particularly great existence, it must be said. And there's, you know, when you get a character like this who's gone through the ringer in the way that they have, even though they may not really, because like I say, we'll get there when we get there, but either way, she believes it. So she's gone through some stuff, and you always want the catharsis in a character's, in this kind of character's journey, where, I don't know, they just have a happy ending where things are going to look brighter. But no, not at all. They, I think it takes some balls to do this. I think it takes some guts, particularly when this was made as well. You think now it's, I guess a lot of people wouldn't think much of it to do something like this in an episode of TV, but back when they did this is quite brutal. This is really...
Yeah. Well, I think he's the only one with kids, isn't he? Out of the cult members.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the sins of the parents are being excised on the kids as well.
Yeah.
They're wiping their I don't know, human fingerprint off the world. They'll have no legacy.
Yeah. Either way, it's pretty brutal. But Mrs. Paddock talks to Scully and Mulder. Mulder finds Shannon's bracelet in Mrs. Paddock's office. But Paddock, she's basically, she's sobbing, she's in tears, she can't believe what's happened, and she's telling Scully, she heard a scream, she came out, blah blah blah. We move from there. It's not really much to discuss about that scene. It is what it is. Unless you've got something you want to add about it.
No.
Okay, but so we see the PTC meeting in the forest. One of them says, "A dark angel is among us, and it wants a sacrifice." And then, so they start talking. Basically, we get a few more details about their religion, and they basically come to the conclusion that they've been a bit soft lately. That because they've not done any sacrifices or anything like that, that they've made the devil angry, basically, and they need to make a sacrifice in order to keep, I don't know, keep their powers, I guess, which I guess would explain Jim's little thing with the door before. But they decide to pin Jerry's murder, the lad at the beginning, on Shannon to get rid of Mulder and Scully. So yeah, they must rekindle their faith afterwards, they say. So
just some real good to the core, upstanding individuals. These people, they're just horrible they're just horrible.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if you've ever seen Supernatural TV series, but there's a director on that. I mean, he has actually passed away in recent years, Kim Manners, and he's the director on this episode. But there's a shot that he does in this episode, and it's in the scene that we just talked about, and it's when the camera pans up and you see all their black umbrellas, and the rain is falling on them, and he repeats that exact same shot in an episode of Supernatural. And I wasn't even paying attention to who was directing the episode of Supernatural. I knew he was a director on it, but I was watching the episode and that shot happened, and I'm like, whoa, deja vu, like literally down to just every detail. And I'm like, where have I seen that shot? And then I remembered it was from an episode of The X-Files, and I put two and two together when I looked at the director, Kim Manners. But yeah, I find that quite interesting that, you know, you can take that over to another show. A show which, quite frankly, has riffed on the X-Files in more than a few ways. But
absolutely.
Anyway, so we go from there to Mulder telling Scully about the scent of incense in Mrs. Paddock's office. Scully tells Mulder about some oddities in Paddock's being hired as well. She says that no one remembers hiring her, and the man that she replaced had developed a flesh-eating virus the morning of Jerry's murder.
It's you think there'd be bigger alarm bells going off here, wouldn't you?
But it's
need to keep an eye on her.
It's that power, though, isn't it? It's the power that she has, or it has, over these people. But it's just, I think, alarm bells, particularly because the people who are in charge of this school are the ones who've most likely brought this thing into being. So, you know, if they get a call, your teacher can't come in today because of a flesh-eating virus, you'd think they'd be like, guys, we've not been performing any rituals recently, have we, that have gone wrong? But you just have to assume that it's the devil's persuasive power that is at work here. So, Mulder searches the Orsburys' house.
Now, just hang on a sec. This is one thing that niggles at me just a little bit.
Go on.
Like Mulder, Scully says she's going to stay at the school and look through some things, and Mulder says he's going to get a search warrant and search the premises. And then he goes there himself at the middle of the night. like no police officers or that, not with the warrant to say, look, we're here, we've got the warrant, we're going to search your properties. He just turns up himself with a flashlight.
Did you meet the sheriff at the beginning? I'm not sure there would have been much use.
But if you've had a door slam shut out your hand, you just take somebody else with you.
I don't think I would be going to that house alone, given what I witnessed, and given that I'd be the person who actually believes in supernatural stuff, you know.
And the stories you've heard about what's buried in the basement. I think, if I was Mulder, I'd be taken back up. It does stink a bit, I think. At least take one other dude with you. Come on. Yeah. But he doesn't. He goes by himself to the Orsburys, and he finds Jim down in the basement, just hanging out in the dark by himself. It's like
young Frankenstein when that dude's face is just on the shelf. Marty Feldman, is it? His face is just on the shelf. Kind of expect that moment, but yeah. So this is the scene I was telling you about, in which he comes clean. So basically, he's really having doubts about his faith, mainly because of he. And then this is something that kind of it's. I think it's a little bit of a bit of bad writing, I guess. I don't know. It just he basically has turned against the group because they suggested that they pin everything on his daughter. And given everything that he's done to his daughter or been responsible for with his daughter, it doesn't entirely ring true. But let's get into it a little bit. Here's what he's saying's happened. They did some kind of hypnosis thing on his daughter in order to get her to go along with these rituals, certain rituals that they did. But he says they never hurt her physically, they never raped her, that kind of thing. They just messed with her mind so that she wouldn't remember what they were doing. They got together in cloaks, they did prayers to, Beelzebub, whatever. And I don't know, maybe sacrifice some animals. I don't know. They did something dodgy, obviously, that they didn't want her to see or remember at an early age. And basically, when the thing happened in the forest at the beginning, it's reawakened those memories, but they've become twisted. They've become blurred, and they've mixed in with other memories and become distorted. So what she remembers to her, it is the truth, but he's saying, no, it isn't. How much we can trust this guy, given that he prays to the Lord of Darkness, I don't know. But if we take him at face value, if we because he is confessing, let's face it, he's coming clean, he's confessing, so there's no real reason at this point to doubt that what he's saying isn't true. But if it is, that's the basic gist. They did something on her mind so that she wouldn't remember what they did, but when it was reawakened, it got jumbled up with a load of other memories and twisted into something else. So, yeah.
I quite like this scene because of the production design, I think. He goes down the stairs into the basement and he's got the light on the walls and they're like a deep red.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like mosaic, almost of like big panels sunken into the walls, and the whole time I'm like, put a light on till we see what the heck is down here. This looks terrible. You never get to see it, which is even better because it lets your imagination run wild. And it's just a cool scene. Yeah, no, I
agree. It's minimalist. That's the thing. It lets the torchlight do all the work, and the main reason it works is because of what we were told by Shannon when she was talking to Mulder and Scully. So, she's told this horrific story. So when Mulder first goes down there and we start seeing little details, the dirt floor, the red walls, that is in keeping with the story that Shannon told us. So, and because the room as well itself is pretty unremarkable. It's a very small, confined space. It's a little cellar. It makes you start imagining the things that were done down there by these people to Shannon. We've never seen anything done to her. It's all been told to us. She told us. And because of what she told us, we're now seeing where this supposedly happened, and we're filling in those blanks. We're seeing it in our mind. And that's more terrifying, obviously, than I think, than anything that they would show you. So yeah, at that point you're like, man, this is where this is where it happened. You know, it's like those documentaries they do on serial killers, where they revisit, you know, the crime scenes where they happened. This is the house where John Gacy did it, you know, and it's like knowing the story of those people and then seeing the places. It creates this picture in your mind, which, quite frankly, you don't want in your mind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. I think seeing this place, it's pretty creepy. So Scully's typing at the computer, and she's searching through criminal records, or she's searching for criminal records on Mrs. Paddock, of all people. So yeah, and then we go back to the basement, and Jim tells Mulder basically what I just told you about the hypocrisy of their beliefs and of the rest of his team, and what's happening with his daughter. And Mrs. Paddock, because we go back to her, she's back doing another ritual, looking all funky, and she's got Jim's pen. So yeah, she's got a hand over this candle. No, sorry, Scully's pen, not Jim's pen. She's got Scully's pen, and she's got a hand over this candle, and she dials the phone. Basically we go back to Jim and Mulder. Mulder gets a phone call, and he hears Scully telling him that she's in trouble. So presumably the fact that she's got Scully's pen, an item of hers, she's causing herself pain, and that she's able to project Scully's voice as a result of that. It's a pretty cool image, quite dark, quite twisted.
Yeah.
This Mrs. Paddock character is very sinister, I must say. Very memorable character, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely a memorable villain.
And then we get to my sort of second little niggle bit here. Where it's like, you know, Scully's in danger. This guy's confessing. Will I take him with me, lock him in handcuffs in the back of the car? No, I'll just handcuff him to this banister in this spooky basement. And why doesn't he take him with him?
Because screw him, that's why. Look, Mulder hears Scully's in trouble. He ain't waiting around to shuffle this guy in a car. He's off. That's it.
He seems pretty compliant. You know,
yeah, he does for now. But how compliant will he be once they get into the school? I don't know. It's not as much of a niggle to me as the character inconsistencies of Jim. You know, okay, he may not have physically touched his daughter in the way that his daughter claims, but he's violated her. You know, he's taken her memories. He's done stuff that's been so bad in his mind that he's felt the need to wipe it from her mind.
Yeah.
So that to me is a violation. That is, you know, and not only that, but he's done it for the sake of worshipping the devil. So that to me, you know, when he suddenly gets off on his high horse about how they wanted to blame his daughter who's dead, I might imagine, I might add. You know, it's not like they're saying, oh, let's blame her so that she goes to prison. She's already dead. So, you know, to a normal person, to a normal parent, yeah, that would be horrible, blaming her for anything. But he's not a normal parent. He's a devil-worshipping scumbag who has wiped her memory because he did things that he didn't want her to remember. So this change of heart there, to me, it's a bit much for me to get on board. But yeah, much more so than Mulder handcuffing him to the stairs.
Okay.
And you know what? In Mulder's mind, you know what? This guy did some nasty stuff down here, so screw him. I'll leave him handcuffed down here for a while. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, so Paddock calls Scully. Calls as Scully, I should say, and Mulder goes running off. Then once Mulder's gone, our friend the Python comes through the door, the locked door. Yeah,
it just looks huge.
It does look massive. It looks really big. It comes down, Jim's kind of sat there crying, having a little bit of a sob to himself. Doesn't notice this big ass snake making its way down the stairs. Not that he'd be able to do anything if it did, because he's handcuffed to it. And yeah, he gets his comeuppance. The snake wraps itself around him, and while Mulder is kind of getting on his way to Scully, we get like a bit of a cutaway to him turning up at the school. We cut back to see the snake just basically finishing him off. He's just, makes light work of him, basically.
Love it. It's great.
And I like the touch with Mrs. Paddock. We go back to Mrs. Paddock, and she's got these snake eyes. And it's really freaky. So while this snake is eating Jim, she's there with doing her whole ceremony thing, and she has these snake eyes, and she looks proper freaky.
Yeah. Okay. Normally, normally in these episodes it's a mystery or who did it, or are they going to catch the person? But this one tells you right flat out is she's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. Kind of. Technically, she's the biggest bad guy we've ever had in the X-Files, and are ever going to have in the X-Files, because you don't really get much badder than the devil. Mulder and
she just doesn't like. She doesn't harm anybody really. I know
Shannon.
Shannon.
The guy at the beginning.
The guy at the beginning.
The one that kickstarts the whole thing. She kills two kids.
No, I say Shannon. Yeah. Shannon's days are numbered because of her father's actions.
Yeah, but it's still not hers. Still not hers. You know, we.
Do we not know?
It's not her. It's not her sin. You know, the whole thing about sins of the father being visited upon the children. That's an Old Testament thing. We live in the New Covenant now, my friend, not the old one. So. Yeah.
It's Preacher Lomax.
Anyway, Mulder and Scully find Jim's remains. That's right. This snake has not only swallowed him, it has chewed him up, digested him, and spat him out. His skeleton just lies there.
Yeah. Luckily, the python didn't crush any of his bones. So
no.
And left this really cool rib cage just sitting there. It's a great visual. It's a really fantastic visual.
Oh man. Scully says that it's impossible. Basically, like it would take 6 weeks or something like that for a python to digest a fully grown man. So obviously there is something supernatural about the snake.
If we had any doubt.
As if we had any doubt. But Scully does remember at that point that there was a python in Mrs. Paddock's office. So you kind of get the feeling that they're basically running back and two. You know, they go to Jim's, they go to the school, they go to Jim's, they go to the school. They're doing runabout. The rest of the PTC are talking. And here's my thing. They know that Jim is dead. How? How do they know that Jim is dead? Did I miss something?
No, I never even clicked on that, Brian, but no,
right.
I can't think of why they would know that.
Because they get together and one of them says he's dead, Jim's dead. Because that's when...
talking to the police.
Yeah.
They also say that.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it at the time, but now you say it, it's come back in my head, yeah.
And it's almost like they've cut a scene out. But yeah, they know, which is bizarre. And there's really no way they should, because as soon as Mulder gets back to the school, they head back to Jim's house. So he would have had to have turned up, see Jim getting eaten by the snake, and then disappear off to the school just as Mulder and Scully were leaving the school in order to be able to tell him. So yeah, I have no idea how they know at all. And it's just not explained. To me, that's the biggest weakness. It's the most glaring thing that jumps out at me in the episode. But anyway, regardless of that fact, they do know. And he says that Jim didn't have faith, that's why he was taken. They presume that he's told Mulder, and they agree that Mulder and Scully should be sacrificed. And the psychologist guy is missing his keys, so yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Guess what's going to happen there? Oh no, my keys. Who's got them? Mulder and Scully get to the school and find Mrs. Paddock on the floor. She points the finger at the PTC, tells them that they're in the conference room. Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Oh man, good grief.
Everybody's her puppets.
They really are. She's just manipulating everyone. This is her plan alone, and everyone else is just a bystander, basically.
Or dancing to her beat.
Yeah, pretty much. So Scully finds that they basically go to said conference room, and Scully finds the eyes in a jar. And she walks over to Scully, and the PTC attack them. We get a nice little fight scene here in which Mulder actually KOs someone, takes him down, you know. And this is after the guy had the upper hand on him. The guy comes out of nowhere, whacks him with a chair. Mulder kind of braces himself, takes it in his stride, and takes this guy down before getting taken out by the psychologist. But yeah, I can only assume he got taken out by the psychologist because Scully got shoved under a bookcase. But yeah, so they're attacked, and meanwhile Mrs. Paddock is doing a number in her office with psychologist guy's keys. As if we didn't know that was going to happen. The three PTC peeps, they basically drag Mulder and Scully to the shower. They switch the shower on because they figure it'll make it easier to clean up the mess. They're about to stab and then shoot Mulder and Scully when the psychologist guy, the one who's got the gun, the one who's now being controlled by Mrs. Paddock, he shoots the other two before turning the gun on himself and blowing his head off. And then Scully delivers a line with all the weight of an anvil, in where she says, like, "Did you see his eyes? It's like he was possessed by something or something. It's like he wasn't in control or such." There's a line like that, but it's pretty heavy-handed.
There's a couple of things that I really like about this scene. I like the fact that they drag them into the showers and say it's for clean-up. It makes you go like, these are people that have killed many people. They know that this is one thing. And it's the second thing I like is they're so nonchalant about it.
Yeah.
You know, they're just, oh, we need to kill them. Right, okay, that's fine. And then I need to go to the supermarket and pick up some eggs and bread. It's just...
it's a task, isn't it? It's a task that's at hand. They need to get it done. And that's that. So
it's not a human life.
No.
It's just...
it's a means to an end.
Yeah.
So Mulder and Scully go to find Paddock, but all they find is a sign on the blackboard that says, "It's been nice working with you."
The end.
The end. The devil wins. Okay. Yes. So, wrap up.
Right, I suppose I'll go first. I hated this episode. I hated it. I really enjoyed this. I really liked the playful nature of the episode. It was fun. It had some fantastic imagery. One thing we didn't mention was the score. It had some nice chanting and ominous music through certain scenes. It was really terrific. Lots of nice set pieces. I had nice moments of levity that weren't just outright jokes. It had moments that you were expecting levity that actually caught you off guard with how dramatic they were with some key scenes. The actors are all having so much fun. They're kind of almost chewing the scenery, but just not quite. Levels of craziness. I like it. when I think about the X-Files, you can look at this episode and you go, it's not as good as Beyond the Sea, it's not as good as Ice, but there's a lot of entertainment here, there's a lot of fun to be had, and I am dithering on a score here, Brian. I'm either going to go 4.5 or 5 on this one.
Oh.
And I think I'm going to have to settle at 4.5.
Yeah.
I did really enjoy it, but it's not upper echelons at X-Files, but man, this is something I would go back and watch a fair bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this one. I like it a lot. I think it's very good. One of the better ones we've had of season 2. I do think there are some flaws in the script. Just some things that maybe needed a bit more developing. Especially that thing of how the PTC knew that Jim was dead. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. I think it's a very solid 4. I am close to giving it a 4.5, to be quite honest. But yeah, I feel it's a 4, and I feel it's a very high 4.
Mm-hmm. It's funny how you get some episodes that you feel are so story centric, and this one's kind of about a mood and entertainment, which is why I can forgive somewhat some of the missteps that it does make. But yeah, so tell me a little bit about Fresh Bones.
Voodoo.
Hoodoo?
Voodoo. We're going all Chris Isaac there.
I was going Labyrinth.
Right, okay. No, my memories of it are that it's not quite as solid as this one, but it kind of deals with similar stuff. It's one of those where I felt like it maybe shouldn't have come directly after this episode. I don't know. I think it's probably above average or around average. But yeah.
Voodoo, it seems, yeah, when you say that, it seems a bit odd after Cult. But yeah, that'll be next episode of The X-Files Revisited, so we'll see you then for Fresh Bones.